Thanks for staying with us. According to a report, the Lagos State government has issued a notice of demolition of a $200 landmark beach resort, saying the property obstructs the planned route of a 700-kilometer coastal road intended to connect the state with Calabar. Joining us on the show is the CEO of Landmark Africa Group, Paul Onwuanibe. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Oh, my heart. When I read the news, I was like, what? Landmark? That's more like a tourist place everybody wants to go to. When you're coming into Lagos, you want to go to Landmark Resort. What happened? How did this elude you in a way that I know that sometimes when you want to buy a property, you make inquiries. And aside from CFO, you ask her, it's called searching.
Yes.
Nima used to do that for me. You search and then you say, okay, this is government's owned property that they will be using in the next 50 years or the next 100 years. How did all of this, what happened?
What's going on?
So it's interesting. First of all, just for context, we bought this site in 2007. Yeah. This is 2024.
Oh, yeah.
So that's 17 years ago. As an organization, we've worked across the world, in Europe, in America, in Africa. In 2003, we came to Nigeria. It took me 3 years to find this site. And we bought the site in 2007. At the time, there were no easements. It was beachfront property. We bought it as beachfront property.
Okay.
And we have a 90-year lease perfected. Yes, and we paid an absolute fortune for it. We did all our checks and such. We're funded by international investors. We have raised, at different times, loans internationally and domestically to the tune of $100 million. All these people do their due diligence. At different times in the progress of the development of this site, we've sought and received planning permission on 4 different locations. So I can assure you, as a business, we've dotted the I's and crossed the T's.
Okay, so I know that the Coastal Road is not a new initiative. The Coastal Road idea has been something that every Lagos person knew there would be a coastal road. The assumption was that, I assumed they were going to have to maybe reclaim, which would have been really expensive. But is it that the landmark beach, that landmark project, does it fall on the coastal road, or does it fall before or after? Where are you around the coastal road, and why are you now seen to be in the line of the coastal road that is they're now issuing demolition?
So I'm not sure that's a question for me, in all honesty, but you know, I can talk about Landmark and Landmark's position, right? So I am told we're at ground zero of the coastal road, so we're in the first 1.5 kilometers. It starts just around Landmark, as you can imagine. Oh. So there is an alignment for the coastal road, which is in front of Landmark. It's the road that goes along. There's a median, the road. It's been there. That alignment, I think, was gazetted sometime in 2016. Oh, sorry, earlier than that. At some point, the coastal road alignment was changed to go onto the water side. And I heard about that sort of a long time ago, but I didn't know the details, right, until 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I think that those questions are for other people, but my point here is you know, I'm here to talk about my business.
Yeah. How it's
to save a business that employs 3,500 to 4,000 people. We've been in business for 27 years. We've been in Lagos for 20 years. We've been on that site for 17 years. We have 84 different businesses within our ecosystem. Every single square inch of our property feeds multiple families. We've paid taxes to the tune within that ecosystem of almost 2 billion naira. So, you know, this is a story about the business. You know? And, you know, to be fair, you know, I'm not naive. I've had conversations with various levels of government. I see the noises and the narrative coming out of government about supporting businesses, creating an enabling environment, making sure there's FDI, reversing foreign exchange flight. You know, we're at ground zero of all that. This is what we do. So that makes sense to me, and I think this will be resolved. But It will take
I believe
time.
it will be.
Yeah, it should. It should be resolved because, you know, business in Nigeria is very difficult, especially the starting point. And I'm very sure before you secure that land, you must have gone to get all the required papers and all of that. Exactly, and all the plan and everything. But for them to come now and say, this, you're on the way and all, it's heartbreaking, actually, and all. So I'm thinking that the government should please try and, you know, help businesses thrive, let them be able to thrive and all. The government should be thinking of how they are going to even make money out of the business that already exists. How do we now come in? Okay, you are making so amount of money. Okay, how do we now come in? What's the own percentage and all? Make business out of business. That should be the way. Can always reroute the coastal stuff. I think there's a way they can reroute it if it's well planned.
I'm listening to you, Mr. Onwuanibe, and thinking, are you blackmailing the government into leaving your business? Because I'm aware that the coastal highway has been in the works. It's been a plan forever. If your business started in 2007, you must have heard of the coastal highway project before you started.
It was in front.
You know,
It was in front.
front.
Now they've moved it to
His side.
This design, the change, if you have a good action, that the original design and the change has affected your business, you should be looking at, you know, how government must pay for this difference.
Compensation.
But if government thinks they cannot take it in front and they must take it this way, they should also be talking to you. But that's not the conversation here. Why is it muddled up in some kind of confusion right now?
So I'm not really sure where you're going with this, but there's no confusion. The facts are there. I mean, I think people should examine the facts. I would hate this thing to become a political football. I mean, use the term like blackmail. I don't even understand that term. Because there's no blackmail. You know,
government should not have approved your business in the first place.
I don't know. You can't create the business that we have created without the support of government. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yes?
It's a huge
impossible.
one.
Yes, we have invested over $100 million in this thing. We employ a number of people. We energize a number of businesses. We're at the ground zero of hospitality and tourism in Africa.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's important not to create a...
So is it that the government is now coming against your business?
Not at all. Look,
He mentioned there was a realignment. So
there was a realignment
understand
that affects us.
That is as the conversation in the information, you know, sometimes we hear this thing and it just, you said you found out about 3 weeks ago. I'm into real estate. Those of us that were into land banking were jubilating because it's a marketing tool for us to see that finally this road is getting done. But now I'm seeing, yes, it was on Saturday I found out about the demolition notice, and I was shocked that this cannot happen. Has there been conversation around compensation?
Yeah.
Is it that you don't, as a company, you don't want to be compensated? You want a case where they can preserve your business? What would be an ideal scenario for you?
Well, an ideal scenario would be to ensure that the 3,500 people we employ continue to increase.
Exactly.
The businesses that we enhance continue to do better. The taxes we pay to government continue to happen. The tourism industry in Nigeria and in the wider environment continues to flourish. That's the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
You know, someone asked me the same question once, and I said, look, my daughter is 28. If someone says, I want to take your daughter and kill her, just tell me how much you've spent, I'll give it to you. I mean,
What's that?
How does it, what's that? Yeah? So this is not about, it's not about me and it's not about business. And the mistake a lot of people are making is they're talking to me as if it's about me, right? Yes, from my own selfish point, yes, I have an interest in keeping something that I've been working on for 27 years flourishing, right? But I think people need to come down there and speak to the real lives and the real people and the real businesses and take a view.
Yes.
Also, you know, when you look at when people talk about the coastal road alignment and what has happened, we're at ground zero. It's a 700-kilometer coastal road. This is the first kilometer. I mean, so let's put things into perspective. There are many conversations that are going on, and there are many conversations that I am 95% sure this will be resolved.
Yeah.
I'm not working with, and I'm not talking and working with a set of people that don't understand the issues. So I think I'm pretty sure it will be resolved. It's quite painful at this point in time because, as you can imagine, I have calls from Forget about family and friends. Yes? I've had calls from ex-presidents. I've had calls from foreign
Investors,
presidents.
yeah.
I've had calls
Even
from
investors.
Yes, even
investors. From the banks that we owe money to. And from people, we have a 30-floor building going up there. There are 300
heart
apartments. We've sold half of them.
Palpitation.
Some of those people are
Honestly,
calling.
how sad.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you the details of some of the you may not give us the exact details, but some of the conversations you have had with governments and where you think is tilting to. Then also, you said at the beginning when you were procuring the land, you knew that the coastal road was going to be closed, but then it was supposed to be in front. Do you have like an evidence supporting that as what the government had promised it will do, so that in case they insist that they are going to go inwards, affecting your property, you can go to court? Have you considered that?
I think there are three questions there. The first is what's going on in terms of conversations. I'm still having informal conversations at various levels of the government. There's a lot of sympathy, there's a lot of empathy. They want to make sure the jobs continue, they want to make sure the business continues. So there are more clarifying questions. Everybody's trying to understand. As you can imagine, this is not something where one person wakes up in the morning and says, build a coastal road, the same person draws a line, next person says, contractor, go and start work, right? There are whole tiers, there are all sorts of, from top to bottom, there are all sorts of people who have to do things. How many people actually looks through? I can imagine what happens is someone drew a line in the sand and just said, let's go through this way. This is the straightest way, yes, right? And they haven't done that research to figure out what, we're ground zero, right? So I can imagine that further down, there'll be many other of these challenges to overcome. If you do your research about coastal roads that are built across the world, and let me make it clear, it's one of the best ideas in terms of infrastructure development for coastal cities, right? Its primary job, when you look at the Pacific Coastal Road, you look at the Amfree Coastal Road, you look at the North Atlantic Coastal Road, you look at even the ones done in China, there's the Cape Town one, they're there to enhance tourism. They're not usually 10-lane expressways, to be fair. They're usually scenic routes and 2, 3, 4 lanes, and they go in and out and stuff. But they're there to enhance tourism. And the idea is, and I know that this is what the government wants. If I were in government, that's what I would want as well, is to ensure that you can connect all these places and all the tourism businesses or hospitality businesses are enhanced rather than unenhanced. So that's the idea of it. So, I applaud it. And I'll back it all the way, right? But there'll be challenges. I've mentioned about 4 or 5 different coastal roads around the world. Some of them have taken 25 years to build. Some have taken 30. In America, it took 24 years in North Pacific. Even the one on the East Coast took 17 years. The North Atlantic one took 21 years. Even China that built very fast, theirs was a 50-something kilometer road, not a 700-kilometer road. It still took 3 to 4 years. So there are a number of complications in infrastructure projects like this, right? And no doubt, yes, we will get there someday, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight, right? So things like this shouldn't really be rushed. The next part of your comment,
Yes, I was asking, do you have any evidence to show that it was supposed to actually be in front of the property?
Yes. So first of all, that's not really a question for me, but let me attempt to answer so there's no misunderstanding, so it's clear. There was something called the West African Coastal High Road. It was meant to connect Dakar in Senegal to Luanda in Angola. It passed through a number of countries on the western seaboard, right? The World Bank were heavily involved in the early 2000s on it. The alignment for that road, yes, was being thought out between 2002 to 2010. The alignment, this road, and I, in all honesty, I don't know whether it's the same road, right? Because it's now being called the Lagos-Calabar Road. So whether it's the same part of that West African Coastal High Road, which I assume it is, was meant to follow the same alignment, right? At some point, somewhere between 2015, 2016, and the next 1 or 2 years, there were thoughts to change that alignment onto the waterfront. Now, it could have been anywhere. It could have been on the Lagos wall. It could have been deep inside the sea. Obviously, Eco Atlantic is building. It could have been in there. I didn't know where it was. Yes. These are a matter of records and facts, and they're not for me to to speculate on. You know, I think you can have someone on this table and you can ask
Who
that
would
question.
break it down
Yes.
for us?
So
Thank
even
you.
if, let's assume now that this assumption was correct, that the road was supposed to be before and after. I remember the Badagry 10-lane road before it was actualized. There were buildings right in front of Lasso. There was a 4-story building, an ancestral home of someone. They went to court. They were in litigation for years. They delayed the construction of that road to, so a number of years. But today that building was taken down and the road was still expanded because government has the power to recover any property for public policy. So if that is what is affecting your business now, are you going to, support that move for the progress of, the country, or are you going to still stand on, retaining your business?
So, I mean, it's a great question, by the way, very difficult one, because I sit here as an entrepreneur, as I said, who has worked on the business for 27 years, right? When I look at the facts on the ground, I look at it from my point of view. And I see there's extremely easy solutions. You had a picture on your screen. For 6 years, I've campaigned to build the Water Corporation Road, which is in front of this picture. And, the government kindly did that last year, opened in December. It literally starts at the beginning of Landmark and stops at the end of Landmark. It's 100 there, there it is, right? They've tarred it. It's lovely. Now, if you look on the left, what is the point in now 100 meters to the north, right? And destroying the business that you've just built a road to protect, right? So I look at that from my point of view, but let me make it clear though, and I've said it already, that the coastal road is a great idea. And if I have to take a bullet for the coastal road to progress, I would take that bullet, right? But it's not about me. Yes, it's about all the people employed. It's about the economic activity. And do you have to take a bullet if it's not necessary? If there's a win-win situation.
I feel like it is a very tough place to be. And
Honestly,
all of
very
us on the
tough.
table, and we're aspiring for the kind of great established brand that you have been able to build. And it feels somehow that what I'm thinking in my head, what could the government have done better? Because I hear you would not make any move without approval.
Of course.
And it means the government at every point in time of every expansion approved. It also means that even the construction of the road was approved. Could it be that we don't have that level of synergy, that as we are planning something as big as the
this
coastal road, an approval was done for the Water Corporation Road that did not carry along the idea of the coastal road, and we're now trying to make it work. In between that, you are looking at your 27-year-old baby and wondering, am I going to lose this? And ideally, what would you advise the government to do to prevent this kind of things happening going forward? Because we also want to bring in FDI, which you did, and we need more to come into the country.
build
And this
economy.
kind of news, what somebody sent to me, it was a client. A client sent me a picture of a picture showing Lagos government to demolish Landmark Beach Resort. And they're like, if this can happen to Landmark, it can happen to any other real estate company. And all our businesses are at risk just by this action. So what do you believe the government can do in trying to achieve that overriding good for the people and yet preserving businesses and investors' funds to continue to come in?
Good question. Look, I've worked in real estate for the best part of 35 years. I actually did my master's project on city building and city designs and infrastructure development. I've worked in 14 different countries, and Landmark has worked in all these countries. This idea of real estate, and it's called real estate because it's real. It's, this idea of real estate and its interaction with the regulatory environment of the government is incredibly difficult. It's not like the telcos that are in the air. It's real. So there's infrastructure, roads, water, sewage and stuff. There's always greater goods because you have to plan. People change their plans as well for the right reasons, right? And organizations get affected. And at some point you could become a casualty of war. And that's the thing about real estate. That's part and parcel of the risk of real estate. So the government has an incredibly difficult job. And so do real estate people, because you can't, someone once said to me that if you want to be successful in real estate, predict the future. Those that get it right do extremely well. Those that get it wrong just die off, right? So, this is not something that can always be predicted. I said earlier that we wouldn't have achieved what we have achieved without sort of Without government support and government collaboration. So you know, it's work in progress. There are conversations. If you can imagine the number of square meters across the country and across Lagos, there's just so much, right? And you know, I don't know how many people they have to deal with that. So it's a continuous conversation. And when things like this happen, it heightens some of the challenges, and it's for us to try to solve these challenges. And I've got to ask people to, you know, this is a moment in time. It's not really about landmark. So people have to try to stop being too cynical and stop being too political about it. And let's solve this problem for the greater good. And I think we can, because I think the solving of this problem has extremely easy routes. And you know, there are a number of reasonable people out there, right? So I think we need to focus on that.
So I have a caller. I'll come to you, Ramatu. Tony from London. Good morning, Tony.
Yeah, please. Can anyone of you tell me who are federal government, and when you take decision in the government, can you tell me those that takes your decisions, and then who are the federal government? That's what I want. I'm concerned all the time to know who are the real federal government.
There are different ministries, departments, and agencies.
I don't understand the question.
The agency
Yes.
in the center.
In charge, yeah.
And the subnationals are states.
Yeah.
Agencies as well.
I didn't get the question.
You didn't
I
get
think for the
that.
purpose of land and coastal, I think that's where the question is coming from. Because I'm aware the coastal area, because all the tank farms we fought against got their licenses from the federal. And, you know, Lagos State, as the state of accommodation, had little or nothing to say about how they were situated at a particular area in Lagos. So I think that's the purpose of this.
Ramatu, you had a
Okay, so I take it that you are here so that at least we can help plead with the government that they should let your business continue.
No, I'm here to clear clarity. As you can imagine, I have received thousands of calls, and there's a lot of there's a lot of and there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. And we very early I tried to get ahead of this thing and issued a press statement. And the facts are in the press statement, right? We're having positive conversations. I am 100% sure this thing will be resolved. I have a view as to potential alternatives, and you know, for the greater good, I think we can win. There can be a win-win, right? And that's where I stand. I'm not here to lobby the government. I'm not here to fight, and I'm certainly not here to canvass support or enemies. It's almost irrelevant to the whole thing. I'm here to clarify issues that I can clarify that pertain to landmark. And I'm sure on your show you ask the people who have the answers to questions about.
So we have another caller, Kola Wole from Kwara. Good morning, Kola.
Good morning.
Your life, sir.
Yeah, please permit me to use one stone to kill two birds on your discussion this morning. I want to come and speak on this coastal road project. And at the same time, I'm interested in this power that the federal government is, planning to increase the tariff of NEPA, and the statement of the Minister for Power, Adilabu. You see, Nigeria, we are killing our citizens silently by all this policy that we are doing. Look at the removal of subsidy. About a year now, subsidy has been removed. Minimum wage has not been increased. Now, DSTV increased their money almost every month on the same salary. Now, the NEPA's palaver, there is no NEPA. We are paying for the NEPA with the energy we have not used. So if I like, give me prepaid. I use prepaid meter in my house. If I like, I can leave the light for 24 hours, go to anywhere. Since I know that I'm going to pay for it, it is for the benefit of the government. The moment I can pay what I use, it is not their problem. Then on the coastal road, I want to appeal. Any development the government wants to embark, and you say it is going to be for the benefit of the nation, and is killing the citizens that you are doing it for, it is no project. Though our guest speaker have said that it is not something that they are going to do within 1 or 2 years. It's going to be set over a period of years. But even before we embark on it, if the government or whoever is going to do the project who is not ready, to pay adequate compensation and resettle those that their houses will be demolished. The government should be think twice before they will embark on such things. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that also brings me to my question. I know that some of these projects take a long time, but now we hear demolition and we can demolish, and then it takes another 50 years before anything is done. So why go through the route of demolition? I would also suggest, because you know, the plan for the coastal road is for tourism, to also enhance tourism. And now we have a business that's enhancing tourism as well. They would always find a way to navigate the road if we are ready about
Let me
it.
add to that question.
Yes.
So if government were to, come in with some costs to adjusting the plan, the existing plan, how open are you? Because as an investor, you might say, we don't have the funds already indebted to bank loans and all of that. But, I thought of this sentiment. This road might take us another 50 years, maybe when we are far older, before we see the real actualization of the full completion of it. And your business would have paid the price because they're starting from this end of town. So how open are you to, possibly a cost to adjusting this, because we're looking at, a Nigerian business surviving?
So I'll say three things. The first is, I'm focused and quite confident that a win-win situation will emerge. And what that win-win situation is, as an entrepreneur, I don't predict the future like that, right? We get to the table, a win-win situation, and we'll work one out. The second thing I'll say is a parable someone once said to me: a man can't give what he hasn't got. Right? So no matter how much you want to do something, there are times you can't do it but if you got something, then you give it. So time will tell. The third thing is one of impact. Is whatever it is one does in life, right? And you're looking for positivity, you always try to do the best for the right reasons. And I sit here and say, we will do whatever we have to do for the right reasons. If someone asked me, even just within our own landmark complex, let's say it's a 13-hectare site, so it's large, right? And we need to do some drainage works or some internal road works, and there's a hut in the middle, and without removing that hut, you can't do these works that will benefit the entire ecosystem. It's a decision I'll have to make, and I have to consider everything around that. At the same time, I'll have to consider how would I lessen the impact, or what else can I do regarding this hut. So, these are decisions I'm sure the government faces all the time. In my small business, I face those decisions on a daily basis. So, when they come up, we deal with them, and we look for a win-win for the benefit.
I know that this is where, because I was trying to pick where there was a meeting. I think the meeting held last year about it was a pitching of the high rise that is going up. I think there's a building very high rise. You mentioned it here as well.
The water view.
Yes, the water view, and you have investors already in that project, and they're probably watching this. Maybe they don't have your direct number to get clarity. What would be your conversation to such investors concerning your commitment to Landmark and also to their investment so far?
So it's a great question, and those that don't have my number have found it. My phone has run non-stop. Sitting in the studio, I probably had about 50 calls here. So yes, it's 300 units. More than half of those units are already committed. People have paid huge sums of money already. Banks have funded. And, this is an $85 million project, and we're on the 12th floor already. And obviously, we're still trying to sell the others to make sure it's a viable project. So this has thrown a real span in the works, and you can only imagine the calls I've received. But the comfort I'll give out to people is, look, we've been in business for 27 years. We're not a fly-by-night company. We've been here. We have created the most visited destination, tourism and hospitality destination in West Africa. As a matter of fact, the same day I received that notice was the same day I was called by the World Traveler magazine. I was being nominated for the Tourism Man of the Year for Africa.
Wow.
Right? And the citation was that for my contributions towards shaping the framework for beachfront tourism in Africa. And a few hours later, I get the notice. So it was a sweet and sour moment.
How did you feel?
It was a sweet. So I felt elated when I got the notice, and obviously extremely concerned when I got this. And my mom said to me once, "Is the taste of victory a better feeling than does it override the feeling of the pains of either failure or disappointment? And you know, time will tell. But it's a real tough one. But as a businessman, we go through this every day, and we have to find ways to accommodate it. But I can assure everybody out there, my investors, my clients, my team, my stakeholders, my bank lenders, and of course the wider government, that we will find a win-win. The solutions are easier than are being made out to. And you know, hopefully in a very short time, hopefully days rather than weeks, it will be solved and everybody will have cause to smile. We will then have to pick up the pieces of what has happened in the background to real lives, and believe me, there are plenty.
Yeah. So do you know of any other businesses that are affected? And are you guys, you know, in talks with each other?
Within Landmark?
Yes.
Yes.
Around.
Even around as well?
Oh, around Landmark. No, I don't. I mean, there are obviously businesses that much further down will be affected, but the coastal road basically goes through Landmark and cuts back onto the original route. So, you know, technically we're the only ones really affected with infrastructure.
And how are you pacifying the people working within Landmark?
Yes,
Because I've heard the news. And how
it's a tough job. So we've had people are concerned about their families, about, you know, we have a cost of living crisis at the moment. There are businesses there.
There are so many hotels around too that are benefiting from this Landmark.
So 7 years ago, I did a walk around Landmark with a potential international funder. They were going to give us $20 million to develop this beachfront. When we walked around it, he said, look, that every square meter of Landmark is feeding a family. There were people everywhere. There were 30,000 people, million. And, you know, obviously, they wrote the check, and they're calling me now, right? But yes, it's a tough one, and people understand. We're speaking to people, but it's very, very tough. There's some emotional stories out there.
Because we believe government does things for the good of the people generally, is it possible that you're also looking at a relocation or a compensation? Because, you know, Lagos is largely coastal. There are other areas, and we have other coastal states that might not necessarily be affected by these coastal roads. We have the Cross River, which also has a huge tourism potential. We have some other states, you know, that are potentially tourist states. Are you looking at compensation and relocation as an alternative?
Well, I've spoken about compensation, but if you can pick up $100 million worth of infrastructure and take somewhere else, you tell me. Yeah, I don't know how to do that, right? But you know, we're a multi-country, multi-city, multi-site business. We have offices in 14 different cities. I've got calls from presidents of other countries to come and do things like this on the coast. I had a call this morning from another country president on the coast, talking about how do we work in that country. I'm dealing with and very close to signing agreements with a number of other states who want us to create tourism and hospitality infrastructure. So the answer is yes, we're expanding. We're in multiple places. I did never intend to leave Lagos. I went to school here. This is my environment. We've impacted people. All the local people employed, we're there for them. It is not my intention to leave. The intention here is how do we expand this and ensure that other parts of the country and other parts of the region have the same thing.
Yeah, we have another caller, Salisu from Jos. Good morning, Salisu.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, we can hear you.
My question is, now Lagos State prides itself as a state whereby there is continuity of governance, right from the days of our Oga Tinubu to the present governor, Sawalu. So now, if they are threatening an established business for more than 2 decades with demolition, so what signal are they now sending to will-be investors? Before now allowing them to have this land, this property, there must have been studies and other things. And like the question Madam Obiajelu asked him, I believe there are papers to this property. And they have their master plan as it intends development of Lagos State for decades. So why will they now threaten and establish business for more than 2 decades with this kind of issue? What signals are they sending to will-be investors that will now be coming to the mega city to invest? It means you can do your business 20 years down the line, somebody will now come and threaten you. I believe when this dust is settled, they should compensate them for even this shock that they are giving them. Because
Thank you, Salisu. This is a question for the government.
Yes.
Yes,
You've been a government of continuum.
Yes, you need to
And we
continue.
expect that they know all of these things, and hopefully they would, resolve it. But we have some very good comments, good bad comments. YouTube. Mina TP says, Landmark is a tourist initiative and it should have priority over the coastal road. Both are important and they should seek a win-win resolution to this. A Deep Place says, how can you demolish such project that is enhancing tourism? They must find a way to resolve this. Everybody's hoping. Lala 12 says, I hope they're able to find a way around this. Landmark is a cool place.
We've all been there.
All been there, yes.
Yes. Deep Place says, every coastal road is not even a
very lovely.
priority. Tourism can bring more investments in the country. Why are these people clueless? Everybody's wishing and hoping that, this is resolved. They said, this man is so calm. I hope this doesn't affect his state of health. No. Are you okay, sir?
I'm perfectly fine. Thank you.
Fiona says, people that invest in real estate just need a large heart. These issues are common. You've mentioned it. These are some of the challenges that you face. Mount Rushmore says, this CEO has a smiling face. They like your calm demeanor. And so, do we have one final question before we go? So what are you looking forward
Let me ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What decision would you make?
I would plead. I would beg. If I need to roll on the floor, if I need to take off my clothes, if I need to run crazy outside, I would appeal to the government to find a way through that, landmark, because it's not just about me. I will be fine anyhow. But I have a lot of people whose lives are dependent on the business that they do there. A lot of people, a lot of mouths who I am feeding there. And the fact that I'm also projecting tourism internationally, I'm a representative of the government and Nigeria. So I would plead, whatever I need to do, they will not break anything there. That's what I would do. And I hope that is what will happen too.
Thank you.
Any final comments we have to do?
The same thing too. I think I agree with her as well, because my sister came for holidays last December. They came to Landmark. They had fun. They enjoyed the place and all.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the government will just let that business be, at least for the mental health of Lagosians.
Yeah.
To have a place
That's where they go and pull off as a family, not just parents, but family, children to go there and have fun and all. So I pray that the government will look into it and do something for you.
And find a way out.
Yeah, for us.
Landmark. My daughter can't stop talking about it, but we didn't go as a family. She went with another group of
beautiful
friends.
Place.
I'm hoping that, they can design maybe some bridges. I don't know how that will work, so that they keep the beach front.
Okay.
So
cross
the bridge, design something that still covers and keeps the investment that you've put in place.
I think we have
keeps the
intelligent
beauty
people
of the waterfront. I would love to see the beaches.
Yes.
I still remember the bar beach. My dad used to take us there every weekend, just drive, and I miss it when I pass. I don't see the water and all of that, so I'd really like to see.
I'll just say that my own reply will be, a willing mind will find 1,000 ways, and I feel that for the greater good, if we actually look at the greater good, this is not just about Landmark. This is about all the real estate developers operating in Lagos, all the investors who hope to invest in Lagos. For the greater good, a willing mind will find 1,000 ways to make this work.
Yeah,
It's not
amazing. And the fact also that we want our businesses to outlive us.
Yes.
We have, when you go abroad, you see companies that have lasted 100 years, 200 years, 500 years.
Yes.
You're on your way, 27 years. It's a huge feat. We're all praying to get there. So please, government should help. And I believe that by the time the negotiation starts fully, they would find a way to see how that can be resolved. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The pleasure is entirely mine.
Yes, thank you for joining us on the show. We've been speaking with the CEO of Landmark Africa Group, Paul Onwuanibe. We wish you all the best in this Landmark venture. And we hope that we'll hear good news soon.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, ladies, for being a wonderful
Co-hosts
and contributors on the show today. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye now.